Peter Lavy, you win $13 million. Your first move? Most people quit on the spot. Peter Lavy finished his bus route. This Belfast bus driver clocked out normally in 1996, then did something almost no lottery winner does. He got richer. While everyone else bought cars that lost value overnight, Peter quietly bought 30 properties across Northern Ireland. But the real move came later, and it's almost unbelievable. Remember the Titanic? The actual ship? Peter bought the pump house where it was built. Not as a museum piece, he converted it into a working whiskey distillery. 5 years of construction, millions in renovation. When Titanic Distillers opened in 2023, Peter's net worth exceeded his original jackpot. A bus driver became a property mogul, then a whiskey baron. Most lottery winners are broke within 5 years. Peter built an empire that's still growing. Jason Fry. Jason Fry won $47 million in 2007. Within weeks, he'd burned through $1 million. Lamborghini, boat, Escalade, the holy trinity of lottery mistakes. This bankrupt bartender was speedrunning the curse. But then something rare happened. He caught himself. Jason looked at his account hemorrhaging money and realized he was becoming a statistic. So he hired financial advisors and stopped being stupid. But here's the twist nobody expects. Instead of just investing passively, Jason bought actual businesses. Then he worked them. Batteries Plus Bulbs franchise? He expanded it to multiple locations and learned inventory systems. His favorite golf driving range? He bought it and managed operations. A local Italian restaurant? He owned it and showed up. Jason rebuilt his entire net worth through real business profits. The Lamborghini that almost destroyed him? Long gone. The businesses he built instead? Still printing money. Jerry and Marge Selby. This isn't a lottery story. It's a heist. Jerry and Marge Selby didn't get lucky. They did math. Jerry was a math major running a convenience store when he found a flaw in Michigan's cash windfall lottery. During roll-down weeks, the statistics proved that a $1 ticket was worth more than $1. The expected value was positive. Most people would keep that secret. Jerry invited his entire town to invest. They formed a legal corporation called GS Investment Strategies. Then, for nearly a decade, they spent 10 hours a day printing lottery tickets like factory workers. Think about that. Lottery tickets as a full-time job. They grossed $26 million and netted $8 million in pure profit. Completely legal. The Lottery Commission knew and couldn't stop them because no rules were broken. Jerry and Marge used the money for their grandkids' college and home renovations. Then Hollywood made a movie about them called Jerry and Marge Go Large. They proved you don't need luck when you understand probability. John and Linda Cudy. Most lottery winners buy islands. John and Linda Cudy built a spray park for kids who'll never know their names. These New York State workers won $28.7 million in 2011 and planned a quiet Florida retirement. Before leaving their hometown of Green Island, population 2,600, they asked the mayor one question: what does this town need? The answer wasn't sexy. The community pool was falling apart, and the town was too broke to fix it. The Cudys wrote a $200,000 check on the spot, largest donation in Green Island's history. They funded a brand new spray park, took no credit, and moved to Florida. Today, kids run through those sprinklers every summer without knowing who paid for it. The Cudys live quietly while their legacy screams with joy every June. Sometimes the best wealth is invisible. Bob Erb. Bob Erb won $25 million and became the most chaotic philanthropist in lottery history. This Canadian construction worker kept showing up to work after winning. He donated every single paycheck to food banks. Because Bob didn't want comfort, he wanted revolution. A lifelong marijuana activist, Bob poured over $1 million into legalization campaigns and massive 420-day festivals across Canada. He walked into restaurants and left $10,000 tips. When he heard about a restaurant owner whose daughter had cancer, he handed over 10 grand like it was pocket change. Bob didn't diversify into index funds. He funded causes, tipped strangers, and lived exactly how he wanted: free, generous, rebellious. And here's the payoff. Canada legalized marijuana in 2018, partly because activists like Bob funded the movement for years. He didn't just spend his money, he changed actual laws. Bob died having lived the exact life he chose. Brad Duke. Brad Duke set the most audacious goal in lottery history: turn $85 million into $1 billion. Not to spend it, to prove he could build it. This Idaho gym manager won $220 million in 2005 and treated it like a business case study. He divided his fortune into 3 tiers: safe municipal bonds, growth real estate, and aggressive stocks. Then he founded the Duke Speed Academy and became a commercial consultant. Here's the detail that reveals everything. Weeks after becoming a multi-millionaire, Brad was still driving his beat-up Volkswagen Jetta. No Instagram flexing, no mansion reveal. Brad approached his windfall like an architect designing a skyscraper, methodically, layer by layer, with a blueprint for generational wealth. Today, Brad is rumored to be worth close to $1 billion. He didn't win the lottery, he used it as startup capital. And the really insane part? He's almost at his goal. Les Robbins won $111 million, looked at kids glued to screens, and said, "Not on my watch." This Wisconsin English teacher bought 226 acres and built Camp Winnegator from scratch. But here's what makes Les different from every other rich person who funds a project. He didn't just write the check, he worked there. This multimillionaire spent summers as a camp counselor teaching kids to swim, shoot arrows, and ride horses. He built cabins, a pool, a riding stable. Then he charged parents almost nothing so regular families could afford it. For over a decade, Les traded his yacht-filled retirement for bug spray and campfires. He measured wealth differently. Les passed away in 2024, but Camp Winnegator still runs in Wisconsin. His legacy isn't a building with his name on it, it's thousands of childhood memories. By that metric, he died the richest man in the state, Tom Crist. Tom Crist won $40 million and kept exactly $0. This one breaks people's brains. This retired CEO got the call during lunch in 2013. $40 million. And his first move? He didn't tell his friends, didn't tell his kids, didn't buy anything. His wife had died of cancer the year before. Tom looked at that jackpot and realized something most people never do. He didn't need it. So he transferred 100% of the money into a charitable trust. Every single dollar. He donated it all to the Tom Baker Cancer Center and other charities. Stayed in his modest home. No Ferrari. No world tour. When reporters asked why, Tom said his wife would have wanted it that way. Most people can't comprehend this. We're wired to accumulate. Tom Crist looked at more money than most earn in 10 lifetimes and said, "Someone else needs this more." He's proof that some people are built completely different. Jim and Carolyn McCull won $190 million and did the most boring, brilliant thing possible. They built a financial fortress. At their press conference, Jim made a promise that sounds almost dull. "I'm not going to fly all over the world and buy my own jet." He meant it. This retired Boeing worker and his wife didn't chase mansions, they chased security. They hired estate attorneys and placed everything into generation skipping trusts. Legal structures so tight they protect wealth for children, grandchildren, and beyond while dodging massive taxes. They still live in their original modest home. Zero lifestyle inflation. While other winners blow fortunes on depreciating assets, the McCullers built a financial moat that's virtually impossible to breach. They represent the anti-lottery curse. Total discipline, zero ego. Today they live debt-free, fully in control, and their grandkids' are set for life. Boring? Maybe. Brilliant? Absolutely. Neil Wanless was living in a scrap metal trailer, behind on taxes, selling junk to survive. This South Dakota rancher was as broke as you can get. Then he won $232 million. And instead of fleeing to Miami like every other winner, Neil did something that seemed insane. He doubled down on ranching. He bought the Bismarck Trail Ranch, 47,000 acres. For perspective, that's the size of Washington, D.C. But Neil didn't just buy it and hire managers. He spent millions on irrigation, fencing, and cattle operations. He worked that land for over a decade like a real rancher. Then in 2022, the payoff. Neil sold the ranch for $37 million. Think about that math. He took lottery winnings, invested them in land, and flipped one of the largest ranches in state history for massive profit. Neil didn't abandon his roots when money showed up. He just finally got the capital to do what he'd always wanted, from scrap metal trailer to land baron. That's not luck, that's vision. The Smith family. The Smith family won $429 million in 2016. Most lottery families tear apart. The Smiths did the opposite. They unified. Pearlie Mae Smith, the matriarch, gathered her 7 adult children before they even claimed the ticket. They hired lawyers and made 3 decisions immediately. Tithe 10% to church, pay off every family member's student loans, and create a foundation. Then they launched the Smith Family Foundation in Trenton, New Jersey. Education, neighborhood development, youth programs. Here's what's remarkable. Instead of each person buying separate mansions and drifting apart, they built a family office. They meet regularly. They vote on grants together. They treat the money like a shared responsibility. The foundation actively funds programs across New Jersey today. The Smith family destroyed the myth that lottery money fractures families. When handled with discipline and shared values, it builds something that lasts generations. They turned $429 million into a legacy that their great-grandchildren will manage. Roy Cochram. Roy Cochram lived as an Episcopal monk under a vow of poverty. Then he won $259 million. The universe has a sense of humor, but instead of abandoning everything he believed, Roy did something extraordinary. He became a patron of the arts. He kept enough to live comfortably. Then he poured the rest into the Roy Cochram Foundation, funding nonprofit theaters across America. Not safe Broadway productions, the risky stuff, experimental plays, bold storytelling, the theater that defines culture but can't afford to exist. He supports Steppenwolf Theater and the Goodman in Chicago, covering productions that would never get corporate funding. Roy went from poverty by choice to wealth by chance, and he chose to use that wealth to create culture, not consume it. He doesn't own a yacht. He owns the satisfaction of knowing American theater exists because he decided it should. Some people chase Lamborghinis. Roy Cochram chased meaning, and honestly, he won twice.